The franchise recap is on to season 7, a lot of people's favorite, The Gauntlet. A 2-challenge season year, the first since season 2 and 3 did that. The Gauntlet aired September 03 to January 04. My guy Johnny Mosley once again hosting. The prize pot was back to $300K. And wouldn't you know, we were in the good old US of A that only happened a couple of times, Telluride, Colorado. One massive evolution here, eliminations. No more voting out. You now had a shot to save yourself via one-on-one competition. This inaugural version was called The Gauntlet, the name of the season, and took place in or around the pool outside a hotel in Telluride, which I always loved. There were no gender requirements here. Anyone could play anyone. There was a small set of games to pick from. A dice was rolled to pick which one. This invention obviously would go on to be maybe the most defining format element of the challenge. Eliminations are just part of the fabric, the history, the legendary moments of the show, and it all started here. Other evolutions we had: one single house for everyone instead of the 2 split houses, 2 phases of the game, one with a lifesaver, one without, which the game had never really been split up format-wise like that before. And we had vet status. Miz, Coral, Veronica, Theo, and others commanded respect on their teams simply because they were multi-season vets, and we really hadn't seen that take place before. The cast was 28 people deep and had a lot of returning stars with Veronica, Miz, Coral, and Theo. We had second-time players who had had some history or made an impact in their rookie seasons, like an Adam, Rachel, Ronnie, Latarian, Norm, Nathan, Tanya. And then we had a killer rookie class with Darrell, Sarah Grayson, Trishelle, Abram, Tina, Katie, Alton, Kara. In retrospect, it's one of the better casts ever, but it's one of the best female casts ever. I think during my 2022 rewatch, I had it as tied for the highest rated female cast ever. Storylines and moments were galore here. Let's not bury the lead. This season was dominated by one big story. That was Sarah Grayson's triumph. She was coming off campus crawl, where then and now in this season, teammates Rachel and Darrell saw her as a potential liability. She got that label on Team Road Rules early and was thrown into gauntlet after gauntlet after gauntlet. Problem for Real World was Sarah kept winning those gauntlets, 5 of them in total, overcoming all the doubts and the long odds. I mean, 5 eliminations in one season is insane. And while she probably had about as bad of a time in a challenge house as anyone from being a team outcast perspective, she won every single audience member and viewer over and dominated the story of the season. Elsewhere, the political game went up a level or 3, maybe, as Road Rules had their voting system that seemed to favor some under-the-radar alliances, while Real World got nasty and relationships were hurt as the Miz Coral Foundation was rocked by the Miz Trishelle relationship, and appointed Real World captain Miz, had a hard time picking with his heart or with his head in a lot of different deliberations. Speaking of Trishelle, one of the biggest moments of the season was certainly her bike accident that found her in the hospital very banged up, but somehow able to continue competing. The games were a little different. They were able to work around it a lot better back then. There was a lot of romance across this season. Maybe the first time that relationships took up as much of the storylines as they did here. We already mentioned Miz and Trishelle. We had Alton and Irulan come into the game and leave the game in a relationship. We had Dave and Kara do the same. We had Sarah maybe making one friend or even more than friend on her team in Theo. And of course, arguably the most iconic hookup in challenge history, rookie Abram had been doing his damnedest to woo Veronica and Rachel all season long, and upon getting voted out during his pack-up time, which we were still in the era where after losing elimination, you got a few hours to pack up your things, say goodbyes, maybe have a party, maybe have a threesome in the shower, as you do, because that's what ended up happening here. Abe, Rachel, and Veronica got into the frequently used and shown bathtub, another thing of the past. The cameras were in the bathroom a lot this season and were pretty okay with showing whatever was going on. The whole cast ended up in the room with them before those 3 ended up in the shower, and challenge history was made. From a competitive standpoint, Alton and Theo climbed things extremely fast multiple times, and that was a fun thing to watch. Miz versus Mini-Miz, aka Abram, was a friendly rivalry that was great in actual competition or during wrestling matches around the house. There were some all-time dailies, most notably Episode 8's Red Baron, where the cast got a few hours of pilot school before going up in fighter jets and doing one-on-one dog fights. How much control of the planes they had, not entirely sure, but multiple cast members have said over the years that they were, in fact, doing the flying once they were in the air, which, at least within reason, it's pretty unbelievable. Road Rules dominated large portions of the season. They then dominated the final after Coral got bit by a bug and had an allergic reaction. Honestly, one of the scariest moments in challenge history, as she could have potentially died, and her team had no idea. They thought she was just gassing out or whatever, didn't know until after she was at the hospital what all had happened. Overall, this is an unbelievable cast, a super important season as far as the eliminations being added, and had one dominant and super interesting storyline in the Sarah Grayson triumph plot, and was just really solid in every aspect across the board. A lot of people name this as one of their, if not their number one favorite season of all time, and I totally get why. Objectively, though, we're not going into the all-time tier just yet. This one belongs in the great tier to me, and in fact, kind of in the bottom half of that great tier. I'm going with a B+ grade. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on the upcoming Battle of the Eras recaps. Back tomorrow covering the Inferno.